Voting theory. In many decision-making situations, it is necessary to gather the group consensus. This happens when a group of friends decides which movie to watch, when a company decides which product design to manufacture, and when a democratic country elects its leaders. While the basic idea of voting is fairly universal, the method by which those voters are used to determine a winner can vary. Amongst a group of friends, you may decide upon a movie by voting for all the movies you're willing to watch, with the winner being the one with the greatest approval. A company might eliminate unpopular designs, then re-vote on the remaining. A country might look for the candidate with the most votes. In deciding upon a winner, there is always one main goal: to reflect the preferences of the people in the most fair possible way. Preference schedules. To begin, we're going to want information than a traditional ballot normally provides. A traditional ballot usually asks you to pick your favorite from a list of choices. This ballot fails to provide any information on how a voter would rank the alternatives if their first choice was unsuccessful. Preference ballot. A preference ballot is a ballot in which the voter ranks the choices in order of preference. Example 1. A vacation club is trying to decide which destination to visit this year: Hawaii, Orlando, or Anaheim. Their votes are shown below. These individual ballots are typically combined into one preference schedule, which shows the number of voters in the top row that voted for each option. Notice that by totaling the vote counts across the top of the preference schedule, we can recover the total number of votes cast. 1 plus 3 plus 3 plus 3 equals 10 total votes. Plurality. The voting method we're most familiar with in the United States is the plurality method. Plurality method. In this method, the choice with the most first preference votes is declared the winner. Ties are possible and would have to be settled through some sort of runoff vote. This method is sometimes mistakenly called the majority method or majority rules, but is not necessary for a choice to have gained a majority of votes to win. A majority is over 50%. It is possible for a winner to have a plurality without having a majority. Example 2. In our election from above, we have the preference table. For the plurality method, we only care about the first choice options. Totaling them up: Anaheim, 1 plus 3 equals 4 first choice votes; Orlando, 3 first choice votes; Hawaii, 3 first choice votes. Anaheim is the winner using the plurality voting method. Notice that Anaheim won with 4 out of 10 votes. 40% of the votes, which is a plurality of the votes, but not a majority. Try it now 1. 3 candidates are running an election for county executive: Goings, McCarthy, and Bunny. The voting schedule is shown below. Which candidate wins under the plurality method? Note, in the third column and last column, those voters only recorded a first place vote, so we don't know who their second and third choices would have been. What's wrong with plurality? The election from example 2 may seem totally clean, but there is a problem lurking that arises whenever there are 3 or more choices. Looking back at our preference table, how would our members vote if they only had 2 choices? Anaheim versus Orlando. 7 out of 10 would prefer Anaheim over Orlando. Anaheim versus Hawaii. 6 out of 10 would prefer Hawaii over Anaheim. This doesn't seem right, does it? Anaheim just won the election, yet 6 out of 10 voters, 60% of them, would have preferred Hawaii. That hardly seems fair. Marquis de Condorcet was a French philosopher, mathematician, and political scientist who wrote about how this could happen in 1785. And for him, we name our first fairness criterion. Fairness criteria. The fairness criteria are statements that seem like they should be true in a fair election. Condorcet criterion: if there is a choice that is preferred in every one-to-one comparison with the other choices, the choice should be the winner. We call this winner the Condorcet winner or Condorcet candidate. Example 3. In the election from example 2, what choice is the Condorcet winner? We see above that Hawaii is preferred over Anaheim. Comparing Hawaii to Orlando, we can see 6 out of 10 would prefer Hawaii to Orlando. Since Hawaii is preferred in a one-to-one comparison to both other choices, Hawaii is the Condorcet winner. Example 4. Consider a city council election in a district that is historically 60% Democratic voters and 40% Republican voters. Even though city council is technically a nonpartisan office, people generally know the affiliations of the candidates. In this election, there are 3 candidates, Don and Key, both Democrats, and L, a Republican. A preference schedule for the votes looks as follows. We can see a total of 342 plus 214 plus 298 equals 854 voters participated in this election. Computing percentage of first place votes. Don, 214 divided by 854 equals 25.1%. Key, 298 divided by 854 equals 34.9%. L, 342 divided by 854 equals 40%. So in this election, the Democratic voters split their vote over the 2 Democratic candidates, allowing the Republican candidate L to win under the plurality method with 40% of the vote. Analyzing this election closer, we can see that it violates the Condorcet criterion. Analyzing the one-to-one comparisons, L versus Don, 342 prefer L, 512 prefer Don, Don is preferred. L versus Key, 342 prefer L, 512 prefer Key, Key is preferred. Don versus Key, 556 prefer Don, 298 prefer Key, Don is preferred. So even though Don had the smallest number of first place votes in the election, he is the Condorcet winner, being preferred in every one-to-one comparison with the other candidates. Try It Now 2. Consider the election from Try It Now 1. Is there a Condorcet winner in this election? Insincere voting. Situations like the one in example 4 above, when there are more than one candidate that share somewhat similar points of views, can lead to insincere voting. Insincere voting is when a person casts a ballot counter to their actual preference for strategic purposes. In the case above, the Democratic leadership might realize that Don and Key will split the vote and encourage voters to vote for Key by officially endorsing them, not wanting to see their party lose the election, as happened in the scenario above. Don's supporters might insincerely vote for Key, effectively voting against L. Instant runoff voting. Instant runoff voting, IRV, also called plurality with elimination, is a modification of the plurality method that attempts to address the issue of insincere voting. Instant runoff voting, IRV. The IRV voting is done with preference ballots and a preference schedule is generated. The choice with the least first place votes is then eliminated from the election, and any votes for that candidate are redistributed to the voter's next choice. This continues until a choice has a majority over 50%. This is similar to the idea of holding runoff elections, but since every voter's order of preference is recorded on the ballot, the runoff can be computed without it requiring a second costly election. This voting method is used in several political elections around the world, including election of members of the Australian House of Representatives, and was used for county positions in Pierce County, Washington, until it was eliminated by voters in 2009. A version of IRB is used by the International Olympic Committee to select host nations. Example 5. Consider the preference schedule below in which a company's advertising team is voting on 5 different advertising slogans called A, B, C, D, and E, here for simplicity. Initial votes. If this was a plurality election, note that B would be the winner with 9 first choice votes, compared to 6 for D, 4 for C, and 1 for E. There are a total of 3 plus 4 plus 4 plus 6 plus 2 plus 1 equals 20 votes. A majority would be 11 votes. No one yet has a majority, so we proceed to elimination rounds. Round 1. We make our first elimination. Choice A has the fewest first place votes, so we remove that choice. We then shift everyone's choices up to fill the gaps. There's still no choice with the majority, so we eliminate again. Round 2. We make our second elimination. Choice E has the fewest first place votes, so we remove that choice, shifting everyone's options to fill the gaps. Notice that the first and fifth columns have the same preferences now. We can condense those down to one column. Now, B has 9 first choice votes, C has 4 votes, and D has 7 votes. Still no majority, so we eliminate again. Round 3. We make our third elimination. C has the fewest votes. Condensing this down, D has now gained a majority and is declared the winner under IRB. Try It Now 3. Consider again the election from Try It Now 1. Find the winner using IRB. What's wrong with IRB? Example 6. Let's return to our city council election. In this election, Don has the smallest number of first place votes, so Don is eliminated in the first round. The 214 people who voted for Don have their votes transferred to their second choice Key. So Key is the winner under the IRB method. We can immediately notice that in this election, IRB violates the Condorcet criterion since we determined earlier that Don was the Condorcet winner. On the other hand, the temptation has been removed for Don's supporters to vote for Key. They now know their vote will be transferred to Key, not simply discarded,